In olden days, a glimpse of femur was only for morbid dreamers, but you're not alone. Bring anything bones. Two goofy gals with deathly interest go on a skeleton inquest in your headphones. Anything bones.
Hello and welcome to Anything Bones. I'm Sophie Schwartz.
I'm Katelyn Hart.
And this is our podcast where we talk about bones and bone-related topics.
Yeah, we're ready to talk about bones today. And if you thought that just us talking about bones was interesting, just wait till you hear what else we have on the podcast today. More bones than just ours. We have a guest.
Yes, we have an extra 206 bones on the podcast today, and they belong to Sam Demboski, international shipping expert, recent coffee cake maker, and comedian extraordinaire.
That is all of my qualifications and all of my bones. I think I have all of them. I've never counted.
Well, science is counted.
Well, I could be missing one. There are lots hanging out in your wrist. One of those could be gone. I don't know. It pops funny.
That's true. There's no way of knowing if you're missing any of your bones.
Yeah.
Have you ever
there's X-rays.
What?
Have you ever broken a bone?
I think I broke my pinky toe at one point in college, like really severely slamming it against a metal bed frame, and it like hurt for a very long time and like swelled up funny and just looked weird forever afterward. But I was like, yeah, whatever.
So it's
and I would walk like 20 minutes downtown to my job every time and just hobble a little bit for a while.
Does it still look a little bit weird?
No. Well, no. It's also been over a decade.
Okay.
So it figured itself out.
It's old bone news.
Old bone news. Bone nostalgia. That's my nostalgia about bones.
Is that your topic?
Bone nostalgia? Oh man, I remember the old days of my bones. No, it isn't. Do you want to know what it is?
Well, who should go first?
I think the guest wants to go first, and I do what the guest wants.
Oh, I'm good no matter what. Maybe I don't go first. You can sandwich me like the layers of streusel in the coffee cake I just made.
Well, we will be your coffee cake.
And you can be the ice cream in the middle.
Ice cream? That sounds good. I should have done that.
Well, you still can. I can go first.
Sure. What sort of bone-related delights do you have for us?
Well, I sent you both a picture to start things off. And just let me know when you see it and maybe what you see.
Oh, wow.
This is remarkably close to kind of what I brought.
Cool.
Not entirely. It's not the same, but it is along the same sort of theme.
What are you looking at?
A lot of bones. I'm looking at a place decorated in bones. I assume it's a variety of church.
It is, yeah. So this is the Sedlec Ossuary, and that's spelled Sedlec, if you were wondering at home.
You're killing it.
There will be a quiz later.
Yeah, write that down, please, to get your pencils sharpened. So you were looking at the Sedlec Ossuary, and I don't know if I'm saying that right, but this is located in the Czech countryside in the city of Kutna Hora. It's east of Prague, and in the small suburb of Sedlec, there is a Roman Catholic Church of All Saints, also called the Bone Church.
Ooh.
So, like I said, Catholic.
They love them bones.
It was started in 1142, actually. Where were you when it was 1142?
Sleeping.
So it's an old church, very old church, and according to legend, I should say my sources are an article from Mental Floss, Wikipedia, and a article from CNN.com/travel. So big stuff. Okay, so according to legend, around 1278, so the church has been around for a little while, a local abbot went to Jerusalem and he brought back a handful of soil from Golgotha, which is the alleged site of Jesus's crucifixion. So he, in 1278, got some dirt from where Jesus may or may not have been crucified, and he put the soil all over the cemetery and around the area as an act of, quote, consecration. So what are you going to do when there's some heavenly soil? You're going to get real popular with people that want to be buried there. So a lot of people wanted to be buried with this special soil.
Oh, I think I see where this is going.
Do you?
This also reminds me of Dracula, or like he had to travel with his box. Like if you really wanted to bring Jesus back to life, you bring him and his dirt in a box.
It was the dirt. That's
It was the dirt the whole time.
Everyone's messing around with these crosses. It was the dirt.
Yeah.
Crosses that ding dang shroud. Should have had the dirt.
So,
Oh no, he woke up and turned into a bat. Shoot.
We've done it wrong. We made Jesus a Dracula.
Yeah, biffed it real hard.
Anyway.
So people were just lining up to get buried in there. And, what comes along? The Black Death. Oh, and then what do we have next? The Hussite Wars, Hussite. So a lot of people died. So a lot of those people wanted to be buried in this, as part of this monastery. So that added up to more like 10,000 bodies.
Oh.
And the cemetery just couldn't keep up with the demand. So an ossuary was created. So this is my favorite part. So they got this idea, I think, in the early 16th century that they should maybe dig up some of the bones and potentially use them in a different way, like make room for more bones, more people being buried there. So it sounds like there were just kind of bones in the basement for a while.
Like they were collecting them and they were like, okay, we have to keep the bones somewhere. Put them in the basement. We will get to these later.
We'll keep bringing in more bones. And while you're at it, just move these bones to the basement. Nobody will know. No, I mean, I'm editorializing here. But so
no one who lives there for an extended period of time will notice that they keep walking to the same hole to bury somebody.
Oh, there's a weird appendage sticking out of his vest. It's a bone.
Weren't we right here last time? It's like when you walk into a Denny's and you sit down, you're like, is this the same booth we were in before?
This is the same grave we put Jerry in, right? Yesterday we did this.
Yesterday. Man, they are on top of that.
It's a lot of bones, okay? Did you see the picture?
I did. When they decided the church needed a necklace.
Okay, so apparently in the early 16th century, a quote, this is from the Mental Floss article, half-blind monk started arranging the bones into like pyramids. So I guess now if you go there are like a pyramid of bones in each corner. So there are 4, but there used to be 6. And they were all arranged by this monk in the early 16th century. And supposedly once he had finished, this is a quote from the Mental Floss article too, supposedly once he had finished arranging the skulls, femurs, etc. to his liking, he regained his sight.
Wow.
Oh.
So, I mean, you can take from that what you will. That's pretty cool.
I mean, gosh, I feel like it's a little too late though. Like, could have been useful when he was building those bone pyramids.
Yeah. So then in 1870, a woodcarver named Francique Rint was brought in to, quote, excavate and organize the bones. So that's from CNN. So he was hired by a powerful family called the Schwarzenbergs.
Hey.
Almost like your last name, so a little longer. And they had purchased the property in the late 1700s. So this guy, Rint, he might have been in Italy when he was training and might have been inspired by some skeletal, ornamentations in Italy, but no, who knows. But he apparently, quote, disinfected the bones and bleached them with chlorinated lime to give them a uniform appearance. And I thought that was interesting. That's from Mental Floss as well. And how do we know that this guy arranged these bones? Well, he signed his work in bone.
Like laid out in front like you do with sticks as a small child.
Yeah, like he wrote his name, and it's made out of hand and arm bones. And what I sent you a picture of earlier, Sam and Soph, was a 8-foot chandelier, quote, 8-foot chandelier, said to contain almost every bone a human being can grow. And that was, yeah.
And a few they can't.
And okay, this quote from Mental Floss, I like this. Okay, so it's macabre as it may seem, the chandelier is not intended as a ghoulish decoration. It is a memento mori, a reminder of death, intended to encourage believers to consider their earthly fate and relationship with God.
I think if I saw that chandelier, I would definitely consider my earthly fate. I would be like, damn, my skull could be up there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're still taking donations, but
I mean,
it does make you think.
At this point, I'm sending my bits off to many different places. So put it on the list.
Y'all still taking bones?
Wizened 80-year-old me, like, I'm just making some arrangements. Y'all still taking bones? I want to be by that good soil.
Hannibal rolls up with his leftovers. I didn't need these.
No, I kind of like that. It's like, as kind of, quote, ghoulish as this whole thing kind of is, it's not meant as like it's not fun like a haunted house. It's supposed to, it's actually a religious site. It is a church, like they have services. I heard they have concerts. It is this insanely big and scary looking like tribute to bones, I guess.
I mean, it is really beautiful if you're people like us who are like, wow, it is amazing craftsmanship when you think about all the work that went into collecting like every bone a human can grow. That's what you said, right? Like,
oh yeah, that's what the chandelier is supposedly made out of. It sure looks like it, size-wise. An 8-foot chandelier, like, that's bigger than, I wouldn't want that to fall on me.
You just add to the chandelier.
Yeah. So what else is down there, you ask? There can't just, give me more. Like, there can't just be an 8-foot bone chandelier.
That's what I was thinking.
There is a Schwarzenberger coat of arms made out of bone.
Ooh.
Yeah, so this is the family that kind of commissioned Riss to kind of do Rent. Sorry, I called him the wrong name. The artist's name. They kind of commissioned him to do this, and then in return, he built them a coat of arms made out of bone. There's also a collection of human skulls piled on top of each other, and lots of religious displays, kind of bones and things in sort of religious iconography. Before COVID, this place would get roughly 400,000 tourists every year. And that's from the Mental Floss article. So people love this church. And because some of the bones are back from the 1200s, 1300s, they've had to do a lot of restorations, and like that's kind of, it sounds like was kind of a more recent like ongoing project, but it was still open to the public while they were doing the restorations. No word on what's going on due to COVID, but yeah, this is the Sedlec Ossuary in the Czech Republic.
Wow, great job.
Thank you. Bone Church. Meet me at Bone Church and we'll go to town.
Yeah,
on the bones.
Go to town on some praying and some bones, but don't touch it. So old.
It sounds like in the CNN article I read, there was like kind of an interview with a local that was like, yeah, it's cool that tourists are interested, but like a lot of people don't remember that this is like sacred ground for like a a lot of local people, and like they have family plots there. So it's like, hey, go look at it, but be nice, be respectful.
It's like when you see people doing yoga at the Holocaust Memorial.
Do people do that?
You're like, hey guys, have you not seen that before? Like
No.
the giant one that is just like a bunch of sort of column things. It almost looks like it would be a maze if you were inside it, but it's just like a lot of rows of like big rectangular. You all know what I'm talking. You've seen it before.
Yeah.
But yeah, people go and do like their little Instagram photo shoots.
Yeesh.
Oh, yeah, no. I feel like that, Holocaust memorials and bone churches are not places for yoga or selfies,
Yeah. Selfie-free zones.
Yeah.
Selfie-free bones.
It's a time to ponder your earthly fate, as we discussed. That's what you should be doing, having deep thoughts with yourself and your family.
Looking at the bones.
Whoever you're there with. Maybe you're there on a date. I don't know.
Good first date. Weed them out quick.
Yeah.
Hot tip.
Take them to the bone church, see if they can hang.
First off, do they want to travel to the Czech Republic?
Do you want to get on an airplane right now? Oh, wait, I don't like you anymore because I don't want to get on an airplane right now.
Yeah, first red flag.
What are we getting on a plane for? Bones.
Well, good reason. Let's not do it right now. Let's wait a few years. Well, we've got one part of the sandwich. Who wants to go first?
I think since we learned earlier that maybe there's a bit of similarity between Sam's topic and Katelyn's topic, I think I will insert myself to be the Sophie meat of this sandwich. Mine is something totally different. I'm going to go ahead and send y'all a picture since that's kind of how we've been starting off our topics. Yeah, send it. Facebook, I dare you.
I dare you, coward.
Looks like
Ooh.
This is fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
This is red, white, and blue fireworks.
Yeah.
And a pole.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is.
Are you covering a BTS concert? They all have bones, and they love fireworks.
Hey, if you can justify it, you can talk about it on this podcast.
Unfortunately, this is not going to be about the sensational K-pop band BTS, who each of them are filled with bones. This is actually going to be about the funeral of Hunter S. Thompson.
Oh!
So just a little background on Hunter S. Thompson if you're not familiar with him and his work. So he lived from July 1937 to February of 2005. He was an American journalist and author and founder of the Gonzo journalist movement. Gonzo journalism is a style of journalism that is written without claims of objectivity and often includes the reporter as part of the narrative as first-person experience. So it's more of a writing style that is dependent on the reporter going out and experiencing and being a participant in what they're writing about versus like traditional objective journalism, which is more about these are the facts, a third party can check them. This is just the facts, none of my opinion or my experience. So he kind of like pioneered that style of journalism in America, which was, first rose to prominence with his book Hell's Angels in 1967, which is a book where he went and rode with the Hell's Angels for like a year, wrote about his experiences and their experiences. Sounds super intense.
I've read it. I actually have it. I can see it on my shelf. It's quite good.
Do you have a little one sentence review of it for our listener?
I think intense is good. Really, compared to if you've read Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas too, it's Hell's Angels looks practically objective in comparison.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, another his probably most prominent work is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which was turned into a movie starring the shit man Johnny Depp.
Benicio del Toro.
And Benicio del Toro, who is not a shit man. But we on this podcast do not condone Johnny Depp.
But no, Hell's Angels is far closer to, like, I guess now you'd call it like embedded journalism.
Yeah.
Than the like super subjective experience that Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is.
Yeah, I think he definitely pioneered a more participatory, experiential, like, type of journalism that was not as prominent, like, at the time. And I think that's why he's seen as such a prominent figure for a lot of people. And he certainly went out with a bang, because we're not going to talk about his life. We're going to talk about his death.
And it was a literal bang.
Yes.
I believe.
Sam knows what I'm talking about.
I do not.
So, unfortunately, Hunter S. Thompson died when he was 67 in 2005. He died by suicide. He was really brought down mentally by his physical decline and also, substance problems. But he did have in his will a very specific plan for his funeral. And I'm going to do a little bit of quoting. Most of the sources that I have are our good friend Wikipedia, an article from the New York Times, and an article from the Independent UK, but that's about a little bit something else. So according to his will, on August 20th, 2005, in a private funeral, Thompson's ashes were fired from a cannon. The cannon,
as we all should be.
As we all should be.
Shoot. Okay, continue. I had a question, but I bet you're going to answer it. So just keep going.
Okay. The cannon was placed atop a 153-foot, 15-story tall tower, which had the shape of a double-thumbed fist clenching a peyote button, which was his kind of personal symbol, and a symbol he also used when he ran for sheriff in the town in Colorado where he lived, which is kind of great.
He'd be a great sheriff. It'd be like, I don't know, do what you feel like.
I don't know, you want to do drugs? That's on you. I'm Hunter S. Thompson.
Sounds like he sounds like an interesting person. I maybe would have wanted to hear what he had to say about crime and sheriff stuff.
Yeah, possibly. So it was built between his home and a tree-covered canyon. And if you look this up, it's in a really beautiful spot. It's surrounded by like beautiful rock formations and a real nice place to get a shot out of a cannon, I think. And so, but there was also a tent kind of near there that was filled with all the like funeral attendees. And there were also blow-up dolls, bands, and plenty of liquor to honor Thompson. So it sounds like a rip-roaring party.
Do you think he set aside funds for this, like while he was living? Because this seems expensive. I'm jumping the gun.
Let me continue to tell you about this funeral. So some of the people that were in attendance at this funeral were Senators John Kerry and George McGovern, and 60 Minutes correspondents Ed Bradley and Charlie Rose, also Jack Nicholson, John Cusack, Bill Murray, Benicio del Toro, our buddy, Sean Penn, and Josh Hartnett. Also Lyle Lovett was there, John Oates, and David R. Moran. And there were 250 assorted other stars and people of note who attended this funeral. Also, there were so many people camped out around kind of the perimeter that they set up, fans of his who drove cross country to come and like see this spectacle happen. So as the ashes erupted from the tower's pinnacle, red, white, blue, and green fireworks lit up the sky over Thompson's home for nearly 10 minutes as the crowd cheered. The actual blast with the ashes took about 30 seconds. And all of this was happening to Norman Greenbaum's Spirit in the Sky and Bob Dylan's Mr. Tambourine Man.
Oh,
nice.
Wonderful choices.
Yeah. He had kind of to answer your question, he had this in his will of like, I'm going to be cremated and I'm going to be fired out of cannon. This is what I want. This is my monument. He designed that picture that I sent you with the fist on top of the pole with the rocks and stuff. That's all his design. And that was all like laid out before he died. And you can actually see the process of them like figuring out how they're going to do this in a omnibus documentary on the BBC titled Fear and Loathing in Gonzo Vision. And there's bits of that online that you can look up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, couple of questions.
Yeah, hit me.
Was it like his ashes in a projectile that were shot out, or was it like shoot them and like poof, they're supposed to poof, or did they like aim him at something?
I had a similar question.
Were they like, that the shithead that I don't like is over there, I'm gonna shoot at his house? Or?
I think, so he owned like a really big property, so like the cannon shot up, like directly up, so all the ashes were gonna come down like over kind of this ridge that was behind it and all around this kind of little valley that it was in. Okay. I watched this several times because I was trying to look up whether or not it was in some sort of capsule or something like that, and I couldn't really find much information, but I did watch it a bunch of times, and like it's hard to tell what's smoke from the fireworks and what is possible hunter.
Oh my god.
But there's a great video from a spectator who was definitely not one of these like invitees to the funeral, who's like taking video from far away, and it's 2005 video, so it's like crappy. But you can hear him going like, "Bye, Hunter! Everybody breathe in, breathe in, breathe it in!"
Wow. Huh.
But I wanted to get to what you had asked about, Katelyn, about the cost of this.
Yeah, I'm curious.
So it cost about $3 million.
Woo!
Yeah, but you know who paid for it?
Jack Nicholson?
No, it was the shit man, Johnny Depp.
God.
Oh,
But
yeah.
that article from The Independent that I was talking about at the top of the thing, here's a little quote from that. The funeral forms part of a list of ostentatious spending, including a lawsuit by his ex-managers who claimed that it led him to the brink of financial ruin. So funding this funeral put the shit man in money trouble, so I'm fine with it.
Wow, $3 million. That is incredible. I mean, if that's how you want to go out, that should be how you go out. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, would you want to go out canon style?
No.
I have my own impractical funereal plan that will never happen because it's just that impractical. But gosh, if it did, it'd be great.
Would you care to share?
Oh, sure. I would love to be decked out in some needlessly expensive designer clothing.
Mm-hmm.
And then be on like a pyre raft sent out to sea, but the whole thing is studded with fireworks, and then do the old shoot a flaming arrow into it.
Nice.
And then as it burns, all the fireworks will go off.
Damn.
So not a cannon, but also there are fireworks. So
yes, definitely pyrotechnics are involved. It won't be hot enough to actually burn up the entirety of my body. So I was discussing this with someone before, and we were like, well, we'll just put like little tags on assorted like extremities so that if something gets separated, there's like a picture of me.
You and I were
on this
talking
arm. Oh, was it us?
You were talking.
Yeah.
I told you that wouldn't be hot enough to cremate you.
Yeah.
I love it.
So that's my plan.
Cool. Yeah, I can't say that I've thought about it, but now my wheels are turning. I guess I'll have to come up with something.
The possibilities.
I don't think on this podcast. I think I need to sleep on it.
Yeah.
You need to think about how many fireworks you want at yours.
Yeah. Clearly that's a must. So I'm gonna have to start watching some videos of fireworks and kind of getting a feel for it. I'm thinking something on the scale of Disneyland.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like the nightly fireworks show.
Yeah, and have it coordinate with some kind of video of Tinkerbell or something. No, I don't know.
You as Tinkerbell, like project.
Yeah, I'm gonna pre-record it. I do love the idea of a pre-recorded anything at a funeral. Like, just because you can really get funny with it, or you can get really sad, or you do a mix of both. But that's interesting. That'll probably play in.
A pre-recorded message from you, like, "Hello, if you're viewing this, I've died. Don't be sad."
And they're like, yeah, we know.
I've died. Oh
Or some kind of, kind of setup, like a clue setup, the movie Clue and the popular board game.
Of the same name.
Yes.
Well, that's kind of all I have about Hunter. There is a great quote from his neighbor that says, quote, "I'll always remember where I was when Hunter was blown into the heaven." Thought that was kind of sweet.
I told him to keep his ashes off my damn lawn.
God damn it. He was a curmudgeon to the end. So, Sam, are you ready to show us your bones?
Sure, bones.
Don't literally show us your bones.
No.
I want to see just your skin.
Sam, no!
Peel the whole thing off.
Oh, God.
Oh, wow.
That'd be hard. I'd be like, this is going to be very dramatic, and then it's like there's a bunch of little fibers that keep stuff stuck together, and then be like, hold on.
Hold on.
Peeling your own skull is what we call bad radio.
Yeah, it's all visual. It just won't work on this platform.
Save it for the television.
Yeah, it's an audio nightmare.
Okay, so to follow what we have already set up, I will share my slideshow with you first. Everyone can see. Damn bones. Okay, here it comes. Everyone get ready. Bones!
Yes! Oh, fuck! Yes, Sam, please! Thank you! Oh my God.
Skeleton laying on its side, decked out. What
Decked
is this?
out.
Yes, I know.
This is one of the Catacomb Saints, or in German, Katakomben Heiligen. I'm assuming that's how you say it from looking at it. I'm the only person in my family who didn't learn German.
You will get no guff from me.
But this is one of many skeletons and other bone fragments that was exported from Rome to various places in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland in the 17th century to replace relics that had been destroyed. Because right around then, in the 16th century is when the Protestant Reformation was happening. And so all the Calvinists they were against the idea of all this ostentatious idolatry and iconography and shit. So they would go around and actually like tear stuff out of churches and take stuff out, and all the existing relics of like supposed bones of saints and things would be taken or destroyed. And so in the 17th century, the Vatican was like, hey, in 1578 under Rome, we discovered these giant catacombs full of bodies from like the 100s to the 300s AD from very early Christians. Because before that, the usual like Roman and pagan burial customs were cremation. But then the early Christians and Jews were like, nah, we need them bodies for when everyone comes back to life and goes to heaven, literally. So the rich people would get their fancy burials, but then if you weren't fancy and rich, they would just put your body down in these giant tunnels excavated outside the city. So those were accidentally rediscovered in 1578. And then when all of these Catholic relics were destroyed, the Vatican was like, well, hey, we got all of these bones, which might be Christian martyrs, who knows? So they went through and like tried to identify ones that they decided like were martyrs, which they were like, oh, there's a big M right next to this body, that might be it. Or his name was Marcus, which a lot of people were named, and they were like, no, it's fine. So this particular shipment of skeletons were called the Catacomb Saints because they were not the like officially the Pope said this was a saint skeletons kind of after the fact, because they might have just been like martyrs, but then they were shipped out and named after different saints. But you had churches that had like the same saint in them.
So
Like they both
double-
had the same name.
Like
Yeah.
double saints?
Yeah, it would be like, you know, more than one church has like a Saint Benedictus kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Because they're not like, they don't know who these people actually were. For actual references, of course, Wikipedia for the sort of general history stuff. And then I essentially read through about every single thing on the internet that was directly related to this. Most of that stuff was about a book that came out in 2013 from Paul Koudounaris called Heavenly Bodies, Cult Treasures, and Spectacular Saints from the Catacombs. So sort of secondhand, that's where most of this information is coming from. So these were, like, Rome shipped out these skeletons, and I'll actually flip through these fast so you can see the assorted. They were shipped out.
Oh my god!
Oh.
They're amazingly ornate. These skeletons would get shipped, not put together or anything, and it was usually down to nuns who were used to, they were like trained in taking care of relics, that would get the bones. It would be their job to like assemble the skeletons, which they weren't anatomists, so sometimes they would get stuff wrong. If there were missing bones, they would sort of like fill them in with ones made out of like wood or plaster. They would sort of glue and wire the skeletons together. Apparently this reclining pose, like the, hey, how's it going kind of a thing, propped up on the side, was a fairly common pose for these. Although you would find ones that are just like laying on their back kind of a thing, or some have been articulated like standing in suits of armor.
Oh.
Wow.
I love this. Paint me like one of your French girls vibe.
Yes, that is what it is.
The jewel skeleton is giving me.
Yeah, the heart of the ocean doesn't even compare to all the jewels on this.
So
like the nuns were putting the skeletons together, and then they would wrap them in like layers of gauze to keep dust off of them, and also so they had something to attach all this other stuff to, which they would be like embroidered with gold and silver wire. They would be covered in like precious gems and pearls. They would put like fake eyes in them sometimes, or they would just stud the eyes with like jewels. There's one where all of his teeth are missing and they're replaced with like little circles of pearls.
Oh my god.
Sometimes like nobility in the area would donate their clothing, like they wanted this saint to be wearing their clothes, so they put it in that, and then the nuns would like cut like selected portions out of the outfit so you could see the bones underneath. Like here you can see like his rib cage is definitely showing. And then sometimes the nuns would like put like their own rings onto the fingers of the skeletons. They're like, there's a little piece of me too.
Oh yeah.
And
That's
then sometimes they would like collaborate with secular artists for like specialized stuff like the metal work. But it was really supposed to be nuns, or occasionally they would have monks that were actually in charge of handling the bones. So these all got shipped out. They were very popular with the Catholics. They loved them. They love relics. They were worshipped quite heavily. And then later on, in the 18th century, in the 1700s, there was Emperor Joseph II of Austria, who's like, this is a little bit too ostentatious. He was an Enlightenment man. He was like, this is not religiously appropriate. So these were all like either hidden or actually like destroyed. People would come and take the valuable stuff and then like toss the bones. There were a few places where they still stayed as like stuff that people would worship. Like there are some that have been hanging around, but most of them were either destroyed, or like the guy who wrote this book, he found one in like a storage unit in the back of a parking garage.
Wow.
And then later on, some of them have really creepy wax or like plaster faces on them, because after they stopped being quite so popular because they were ostentatious reminders of how much the church spent money on, they would be like, well, we want these to look less creepy, so we'll put this creepy wax face on top to make it look more human, which really just made it worse.
I mean, these are stunning. They're like so ornate, so detailed. The like gauze that's kind of wrapped the bones, it makes it even more eerie, I feel like, you know?
Yeah. And all the lace and the fabric and like the gauze going on it, like the nuns are making that too. And these are all like their self-learned skills that they created.
Do you think like a clout thing to have one of these skeletons like wearing your outfit, like when you're a rich person, like you're going to church and you're like, Abigail, look, the saint is wearing my dress.
Oh yeah, some of them were for like private chapels.
Wow.
And you theoretically couldn't sell this kind of stuff as part of the church. Like you can't sell sacred things. So Rome would just charge you for like shipping and decorating it. So theoretically you weren't buying these saintly bones, but like you were paying for these saintly bones.
That's like the shit on Wish where it's free, but you still have to pay like shipping.
Pay for shipping. It's like if you were paying for shipping and installation.
Yeah. This skeleton is free.
Oh yeah. Everyone wanted one. And of course you weren't winkety wink 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 paying for them, because that would be SIMONY, however you would say that, simony or simony, which was the term for actually selling things church related, like relics or positions or power, that kind of a thing, which was a no, don't do that. But yeah, a lot of times it was the nobility funding for this thing to be brought in. They would be named after like the families that paid for them to be there. Kind of like now, it really paid to be rich.
Aw, I'm glad some things never change.
Yeah. Isn't tradition great?
Cute.
The whole having of the skeletons fell out of favor. The Protestants already didn't like it, but then eventually the Catholics themselves were like, hey, this is macabre.
This might be a little much.
Ghoulish. Really all of the same words that applied to the Bone Church.
Sure.
And like there are still the occasional small towns in Europe that have the Catacomb Saints still, and will like take them out once a year and doll them up and like carry it around town and then put it back. But those are few and far between. Most of them are gone or were scuttled away.
Well, that was fascinating. Thank you for bringing that. The most sparkly bone topic we've had.
I was reminded of it because I just watched the series of the manga for Death Note, and they have like this whole other world inhabited by Shinigami, which are these like gods of death. But each design for them is very unique and strange. But one of them is essentially just like a jeweled skull. Like he's got a body and everything, but his head is just like a skull, like with a bunch of, gemsies on it. I was like, oh, that reminds me of that.
Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull, if you want to get into skulls.
I never saw that one because it looked
Don't bother. Skull is the most interesting part, but I do love Shia LaBeouf.
The whole movie it's more boring than you really want it to be. And there's way less of the skull in it than is purported in the title.
Aren't there aliens or something that deal with that?
That's part of it. Katoon and I watched it early quar, burned through all the Indiana Jones movies, and then got to that one and I was like, yes, Shia LaBeouf is fun and he's very cute when he's jumping around in his little explorer pants, but I'm so bored.
You just called me Katoon, which our listeners probably don't know is my nickname. But now they know it's Katoon.
It's Katoon. Write that on your fan art.
No.
It is funny that you bring up Indiana Jones because one of the articles actually called that Paul Kudinaris, who wrote the book Indiana Bones.
That's
what they were like he's known as Indiana Bones. I'm like, you're the only place that said that.
I've looked around and you're the only one who calls him that.
You're the only one who made that pun. Unless it's just all his closest friends and family. They're like, hey, Indiana Bones.
I hope he likes that and it's not something that he's like, stop calling me that.
You guys, I told you I don't like when you call me Indiana Bones.
He's friends with the author, what's his name again? Paul
Kudinaris, Koudounaris.
He's friends with Caitlin Doty, who is the mortician that I love on YouTube. And I think that they have a video together where they're talking about that, because I got really excited when I saw those pictures that you put up, because I was like, oh, fuck, yeah, I know what this is.
And apparently, like, bones and bodies were his thing anyway. Like, he's written books and such about, like, ossuaries and charnel houses and all that good stuff.
Oh.
Love me a charnel house.
Yeah, so this was definitely in his sparkling wheelhouse. It's in his charnel house.
Thanks for coming on our podcast. Sam, you're our first guest, and what a way to start it off.
I hope I set the standard at a reasonably competent level.
Yes. Don't come at me with this skeleton without any jewels in it. I want skeleton jewels or better.
Yeah, the next guest is going to be like, I'm sitting here, my arms crossed. Sam brought bejeweled saint bodies. What do you have?
Different bones? Do they have anything on them? No.
Where is my diamond?
Where is my diamond?
And on that note, thanks for listening. Stay cool out there. It's hot.
Okay. Bon voyage.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Anything Bones. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook at Anything Bones Podcast, or email us at anythingbonespodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you to Nick Kruger for our spooky music and Stephen Vetteroff
At Chubby Scrubby on Twitter.
for our jazzy vocals, and thank you to Camilla Franklin
At Camilla Strader on Instagram.
for our beautiful bony artwork. Please rate, review, and subscribe.
Bones!